Ambassador to Britain. Ambassador, thanks very much for joining us. If it is about stopping these rocket attacks, surely there must be a better way of doing it, because even now, despite all the airstrikes, we saw 110 rockets launched in the last 2 days. So this doesn't work, does it?
Well, it just shows you what Hamas is being able to really amass and turn Gaza into a launching pad of missiles that have, in the previous 3 years, approximately 8,000 missiles have fallen on Israeli citizens. And as you saw, Grad missiles hit Ashkelon and Ashdod. Basically, Hamas not only stopped the ceasefire, but it decided, although Egypt tried to plead with them, Jordan, they tried to really do everything that they can in order to hit as many Israeli citizens as they can.
But this approach of the last 2 or 3 days in itself is not solving the problem either, is it? I know Ehud Barak's talked about war to the bitter end now, about whatever is necessary will be done. How much further is this going to have to go?
First, it's important to emphasize that Israel really targets command and control centers where Hamas deliberately and cynically are putting those command and controls and launching pads in highly densely populated areas. They do it cynically and deliberately in playgrounds and hospitals and even religious sites, and they're doing that where they're using their own population as a human shield.
That's your justification for what the UN says are now 51 civilians dead, many children and women.
This is, first, it's important that we just don't pass through that. I think every casualty is a tragedy, and we think about it, and I'm not saying it just as a diplomat. I think people who want peace should really make the real differentiation between Hamas and the radicals in the Arab world and the moderates, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, and Mahmoud Abbas, who we're negotiating peace with. Now, we heard Hanan Ashrawi. Hanan Ashrawi herself knows what Hamas has done to the Fatah in Gaza. They treat their own brothers and sisters in an appalling way.
Well, let me ask you about, you mentioned Mahmoud Abbas, about the Egyptians. I mean, diplomatically, they couldn't be further, there's nothing you could do that would alienate them further than an approach like this. The Syrians, again, Turkish-mediated talks with Syria, that all goes to pot, doesn't it? I presume you just accept that that's inevitable.
No, but there's a certain line where a country, a sovereign country, stands up and says, ladies and gentlemen, we have a right to self-defense. We have a right to self-defense that defend our own citizens who are daily bombarded from a place we went out from 3 years ago and allowed the Palestinians to take over. So if this is being turned into a launching pad and a terrorist hub, Israel, I think, is obliged, like every sovereign government, to stand up and defend its citizens. That's what we are doing, and if we do it right, I think we'll be able to continue on the peace process, which is important for both sides.
Ambassador, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, you're watching BBC